month we read It All Comes Down to This by Therese Ann Fowler, and we really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to talk about it. We will bring Therese on. She's been kind enough to join us, even though she's on East Coast time, so it's a little later for her, and we can't wait to learn more about her and her writing process and her book. Be sure to like and share this video because it helps other people to find it, and it also enters you to win a $50 gift card to the Brenda Novak store, where we sell our fun Brenda Novak book boxes, autographed books, and lots of other bookish fun items. And also tell us where you're from. It's really fun for me to look through the comments and see which states have the greatest concentration of book group members and where people are joining from. And if you haven't quite finished the book, don't stress out. We're going to be careful not to give away too many spoilers or any spoilers. We'll be careful of that. There are so many characters in this novel that have secrets that come out during the course of the novel that we wouldn't want to ruin any of the enjoyment for you. So August's Brenda Novak book box, in case you haven't seen it yet, we still have just a few left. So if you want to get a beautiful hardcover signed copy of the book that we are reading right here, Therese took the time to sign 1,000 book plates that we were able to include with this book. Also, there was a fun book fund wallet, which Alexa designed, so I don't think you can get it anywhere else unless somebody else has had the same idea. And so you can get our fun book fund wallet. It comes with Janie's cookies, which were so hard to get because they're so popular. It's a New York City bakery named one of the top 20. And we tried and tried for months, but she sells out all the time because she's been on all kinds of programs with the media. And then we had our fun game that when you unscramble my titles, you can be entered to win 5 autographed copies of Brenda Novak books. And then, of course, our brochure tells you what's coming up and some other fun tidbits. And we have invitations to our book group that we're hoping that you're spreading around. So if you haven't gotten your August Brenda Novak book box yet, be sure to go on and grab them before they're gone. Also, I would normally be wearing the, I've got my gold jewelry on today, but I normally wear the silver book lover necklace that is going to go into September's Brenda Novak book box. It is so pretty. It's sterling silver. It has rhodium plating so that it doesn't tarnish. And we just love the way it turned out. So make sure you get September's book. It also has a hardcover, signed hardcover, and this one won't be book plated. It'll actually be a wet signature by Catherine Coulter. It's called Reckoning. And Catherine lives close enough to us that we were able to do the wet signing. And so it'll be really fun to meet with her in person. We haven't been able to do that for a while. COVID kind of stopped all of that. And now we're kind of trying to get back into it. So we'll go down to Sausalito, which is a beautiful area, and we'll meet with Catherine and get to talk about Reckoning. And there will be, of course, a surprise item in that box. So anyway, don't miss September's because that's going to be a special box. Also, we want you to be entered to win an autographed copy of any past Brenda Novak this year's reads that we had, any other author that we featured. You can win an autographed copy of her book of your choice, providing we have it, simply by guessing in the comments how long you think it took Therese to sign 1,000 book plates. Now, we've done this before in previous meetings. So you had Ellen Hildebrandt had such a short time, was astonishing. And then we've had other authors that have taken a little longer time. So that gives you at least some bookends. And we'll see where Therese falls on that scale in just a few minutes. So Alexa is normally with me, as you know, for everything. For 6 years, we've done everything together. We've been joined at the hip, talked many times a day. Well, she's in Italy right now. Something special is happening for her. I don't dare announce it in case she wants to announce it herself, but something special is happening for her. She's in Italy and gone for almost 2 weeks. So this is the first time I'm having to do a book group meeting without her. Unfortunately, Ted is here to help. So if you see him in the background or hear him or something, you know that that's Ted, and we're grateful that he's here. But the good news is that Alexa will be doing an article for Reading with Brenda Novak, my next magazine. We were going to put that in September's book, but because the necklaces cost us so much, they're nice and they're expensive, so we had to move the magazine into October's box. But it will contain this cool article showing you Alexa's travels all over Italy. And we will also be featuring, my sister does some of the coolest things for Halloween. I mean, I've never seen anybody create the stuff that she creates. And she just started, I posted in the book group, her spooky tree. It's not quite finished, but her spooky forest is going to be spectacular. And we're going to do a spread on her. So anyway, lots of fun articles coming up in Reading with Brenda Novak. So make sure you grab October's book too. Now, let me introduce our guest author. She is a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of course, It All Comes Down to This, as well as Z, a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald, a well-behaved woman, and a good neighborhood. She's married to John Kessel, who is also an author. He writes science fiction and he teaches English and creative writing. He teaches literature and creative writing at North Carolina State University. So one thing I really liked, well, I liked all of her bio, but I love this paragraph that I'd like to read to you because I think it is so motivational, and it talks about reinventing yourself when you run into a roadblock or life gets tough. Instead of giving up, it says, a book's tale is almost entirely outside its author's control. Some are published with a lot of marketing and publicity and support. With a lot of marketing and publicity support, most are not. After the publication of 3 contemporary novels, each of which sold fewer copies than the previous one, Therese faced a hard truth. Her career was in a nosedive. Her editor at the time felt she should take on a pen name and try again with the same sort of book. But Therese was not persuaded. She decided instead to write a biographical historical novel about Zelda Fitzgerald, Z, which was published in 2013. What Therese has discovered is that she has an affinity for badass women from history whose stories have been either mistold or are largely untold. So welcome, Therese. We are so excited that you are here.
Hi. Here I am.
How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be joining you. Thank you for this. This is delightful.
You bet. Well, your story is inspiring. I just love that you were able to figure out, if this isn't going to work, I'm going to do something else. And that's exactly what we all have to do. I've often told people that it's hard to get published, but staying in publishing is like riding a bucking bronco that's constantly trying to throw you.
That is so true. So true.
Isn't that great? So why don't you tell us how you got your start and your love of writing? Did you always plan to be an author?
You know, I was talking about this recently because, as you said in the introduction, my husband teaches creative writing. And so there's a kind of a regular rotation of new writing students in his life and therefore in my life. And the thing that seems to say that you're probably going to be a writer if you're doing this when you're young is that you're making up stories and you're writing them down and you're sharing them with, people around you, your parents, your teachers, whomever. However, I did not actually do that. I did make up stories, but I was play acting them instead of writing them down. So it wasn't actually until I was in college. I was a single mom. I was divorced. I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree. And at the very end of that trail, I took a class in which I wrote my very first short story. But it was kind of that thing where, like, I knew it was the thing I wanted to do. I just needed somebody to tell me that I had some talent, and that set me off on the path.
That's wonderful. So did you meet John while you were in college? Was he your professor or anything?
John was actually the literature professor of that class. We're probably sort of getting ahead of things if I reveal that that's where we met, but that was back in 2000. So that was a long time ago. We are about to celebrate our 7th wedding anniversary. So a big space in time between, when we first met and when we became a pair.
Well, this sounds like a very interesting story. I hope we're going to get to hear it.
Oh, we can just talk about that, instead of the book.
Well, it's great to know a little bit more about you. And it's so, to me, it would be so fun to be married. Not that I'm not happy with who I'm married to already, but it would be neat to have an author husband who understands the business as in, intimately as you do. And you can share your fears and these covers and different things that they will look at them in a different way. So do you critique with John at all? Is he your editor?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, when I was early in my writing career, he was a professor I worked with when I went back and got my graduate degree. He was in the program there teaching. So we had a lot of history in that relationship of teacher student. But then there was this big span of time between when I left the program and when I got published, in which I sort of had already figured out how to be a writer. And I didn't really need him to tell me those things exactly anymore. Our system now is sort of, I do share things with him when they're more or less finished, or if I have like some brainstorm of, I think this is a great idea, here's how I think it might start. I'll write a chapter, put it in front of him and just see how it plays. So we do get a lot of that, but nice. Yeah, he's really terrific at sort of finding the things that I need found before I share it with my agent and my editor.
having professional help. I think every writer's got
Yeah,
that's
right.
so
I don't
normally
have to pay him for it.
exactly free help. That's even better. Normally we get to come visit the author in their home and kind of look
Mm.
around their city and post throughout the day and stuff and figure out what's cool
Oh,
about their city. But since we don't get to do that with you and we're on a split screen instead, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you live and what you love most, what we should see if we come visit that city?
so if you guys came to see Raleigh, you would find that we are kind of perfectly placed in the middle of North Carolina. Um, 2 hours away to the east is the coast, the ocean. Up 2 3 hours to the west, and you're in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Raleigh is a pretty good size. I would say it's a small big city. So
Uh,
we have great arts and culture here. We have great restaurants. Finally, um,
finally,
it's heavy woods. I think this surprises people a lot. Their first time coming to Raleigh is it's densely wooded everywhere that there isn't development. So we have huge oak trees and longleaf pines. People who read Where the Crawdads Sing probably can kind of appreciate a little bit of that North Carolina feel of the
love
landscape.
too. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So
yes.
it's a really it's a lovely place. Sorry, say that again.
The movie of Where the Crawdads Sing yet?
I have not seen it. No, have you?
No, I've only read the novel. I'm kind of afraid to see it for fear it will ruin the novel for me, but I'll probably break down and see it at some point. Are you interested in it at all?
Yeah. Um, I have that same sort of problem, you
Yeah.
know. The movies never do as good a job because there's just so much that they can't put into the 2 hour runtime or the 90-minute runtime. Yeah.
Well,
People
and
ask me a lot.
you imagined it, right? So it's hard then to have somebody else imagine it for you when you already created that in your
It's
mind
true.
and have it be different.
People people ask me a lot about whether the adaptation for TV of my novel Z, do I think it's good? Did they do a good job with it? And in this case, because it was a series and not just trying to fit the whole thing into a short time, they actually were able to expand on things and make them sort of bigger and more real even than in the book, which I think is the benefit of television
Yes.
versus film.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a project that was optioned by a producer in Canada and in Italy. And the Italian producer just really wanted to stay super close to the book. I think the Canadian one was more about she was the money side, gathering all the money. And they hired what
Yeah.
was really a reputable script writer, who wrote a lot for Netflix, and he was from the UK. So we kind of had the international thing going. And I was so excited
Yeah.
because we were talking, you know, big feature film and great stars. And so I was so excited. So anyway, it took him a year and a half to write the script. Finally we get that in, and I start reading it and my heart just plummets because it wasn't
Oh
that they
no.
had just changed the story that I expected. We can't be too guarded. Everybody warns you about
That's
that,
right.
but it was that he had changed the research. And I'm like, you can't just make this stuff up. I mean, research is research for a reason. You can't change these facts. So I'm like, no, that's not
Oh,
true about psychopaths. That's not true. Because it was my suspense series about a
yeah.
psychiatrist who studies psychopaths at a remote facility in Alaska. And I was so I just after like 4 pages, I already knew, and I had to write an email saying this is not right. This is not right. Anyway, it started this feud between the two producers, and they, wanted to go back to the drawing board and hire somebody new. And somebody else was like, no, we've already paid him. He can revamp it. And then they had Peter Weber, who had done Girl with the Pearl Earring, who had agreed to direct it, and he was going to help the writer. And anyway, so then what they came back with was it was like another Shutter Island. I can't remember that Shutter.